Talking games.
How's it going, guys? I know I haven't done a hardware unboxing video in a little while, so thought we'd come back into that realm, swinging for the fences here with this new Titan RTX that I purchased. I know it's not new to the market, it's actually a couple years old now, but as you've been probably aware and noticing on my channel, I've been doing a lot of the whole thing with the deepfakes that uses deep learning and needs a lot of tensor cores, but more importantly even than that, for what I've been doing is it needs a lot more video memory than even a 2080 Ti can provide. And so I've gone ahead and got the Titan RTX. Now I know Ampere cards are just around the corner, but you figure, you know, it's going to be like end of September before the RTX 3000 series comes out, and then the Titans usually come out a month or more after that. And then it's like, can you get them up front? Was there a shortage? How long, you know, just delays. COVID is causing people to have, you know, delays in shipping and things like that. So I decided to go ahead and jump on one on eBay, which I got it for less than retail, but it was still pretty expensive, as you can probably guess. But let's go ahead and open this thing up and see what comes in the box, which I'm sure by now many of you have watched an unboxing of one of these, but if you haven't, we'll go ahead and go through that. And then we'll get it in my machine and see how it does with some of the deep learning kind of stuff I've been doing, so I can kind of show you guys some of that. So here we go, let's get this thing opened up. It's gold. I get the card, and it comes with a little box here. That looks like you get some kind of accessories with it, which I'm trying to figure out why it shows like a little USB cable on there. We'll see what it comes with here. Maybe it does have some sort of interesting accessories. Okay, so you get, that's nice. It actually includes a DisplayPort to DVI adapter, which I really wouldn't have expected, but cool. I guess, I mean, you know, whatever monitor you get hanging around, if you can afford to blow over $2,000 on a video card, you'd almost think that you'd have a more modern display, but whatever. And you get a support guide and a quick start guide, which doesn't look like anything but quick, but obviously it's written in multiple languages, and so we don't really need those. Looks like that's about all you get. There's no kind of power adapters that I can see, nothing to convert like Molex into PCI Express or anything like that. So I guess you get what you get. But let's get this thing open up. I'm kind of surprised they didn't even put like a little, you know, like usually these things will have like a little PCB or excuse me, like a connector cover to protect, you know, the PCI Express connection. And for some reason this one does not. That's a little bit of a bummer, but whatever. It seems to be in okay shape. Actually, it's kind of like this plastic feels kind of old, for lack of a better way to put it, but you figure this has been new in the box for some time. You know, these came out again a couple years ago. I think these came out in 2018, so you gotta figure this probably is kind of older plastic. There we go. Real nice looking, real beefy, very heavy. Heavier, I think, than my 2080 Ti by a bit, even though that card is physically larger. Takes two 8-pin PCI Express power connections. You get one USB-C, 3 DisplayPort 1.4s, and an HDMI 2.0B. Now, these things are pretty beefy, so let's go through some of the specs here, which I've got handy on my laptop pulled up. But we've got 576 tensor cores, 72 RT cores for ray tracing. The base clock's 1350 megahertz with a boost of 1770 megahertz. Memory clock is 7000 megahertz. Some other information. See, now this is why I wanted this card. This one has 24 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory, whereas like the 2080 Ti has 11 gigs, a 2080 Super has 8 gigs, 2070 Super has 8 gigs, etc. And apparently, so you know how SLI, you know, you take off your little connector here. Let's see if that comes off real easily. Yeah, so you can connect this to another card. Well, SLI, when you do that for gaming, or in this case it's called NVLink now, but it's still basically the same idea. You link two cards together. For gaming, let's say that you had 2 of these and you linked the 2 cards together and ran them in SLI, you would still only have 24 gigs of video memory because of the way the SLI works, and it's like it does alternate frame rendering, so every other card is rendering each alternate frame of video, and both cards have to load the entire scene into memory to be able to do that. With deep learning, apparently, at least with certain cards, and this is apparently one of those cards, if you linked 2 of these together, you would get the full 48 gigs of video memory, which would be very, of course, most good if you're trying to do high resolution, deep learning, deep fake masks use boatloads of memory. Like I've never done any, like all of my deep fakes I've done have been fairly low resolution, because if you go above, I think the maximum it allows is either 1024 or 2048, and it's like I've been doing like 180, because I run out of memory. If I try to, you can lower, like there's all these different settings that you can change that will use less memory here and there, so you can kind of make up for the fact that you're trying to do higher resolution, but then the processing time takes forever. So this will allow me to do, theoretically, pretty good processing time, but really amp up the resolution to like at least maybe 500, like at least half the way there, or even a little bit higher than that. I don't really know. I'll have to play with it and see, what I can do with it. But like I say, it's got a 384-bit memory interface, total memory bandwidth of 672 gigabytes per second, and I think that's pretty much all the useful information for what we're going to be doing. Oh, and it uses 280 watts of power, so this is even a little bit more required. I think a regular 2080 Ti uses 270 or 275, so it's a very marginal difference, but it does use just a little bit more. I'm kind of curious what temperatures I'm going to get. It's like I thought about putting a water cooler on it. I actually ordered an all-in-one water cooler for GPUs from a company called id Cooling, which got fairly good reviews and should probably work with this card. But man, I don't know. It's like I don't know if I want to even take this thing off here. It's like, it's such a beautiful looking shroud on there. It's like, do you really want to screw with that, or do you want to have that beautiful gold in your case? But let's go ahead and get it installed and fire it up, and I want to see, again, like I'll show you guys a little deep learning kind of stuff, and we'll see how she works. So give me a second, we'll put this in my case and we'll see what we got. Alright, let's see what she can do here. It'll make a little noise, I'm sure, until the driver kicks in, but it's a pretty looking card. I don't know what's going on with my Corsair lately. You can see like the water block is like the wrong color. It just started doing that randomly the other day, where like now it's cycling through things that I never told it to do. It's really stupid. Like I can use what they call an instant lighting profile, and it straightens it out while that's on, but as soon as you shut the PC off, it goes right back to being stupid again, so I don't know. But give me a second here, and we will see what we're getting with our deep learning. I just thought we'd look at it real quick. It's pretty freaking cool looking when it's lit up. It just says Titan lit up. I don't know if I can change the colors on that somehow. I don't really care if I can or not. Honestly, like I had always kind of wanted one of these because I got the MSI Meg Ace X570 motherboard, which is a gold and black theme. MSI makes a a gold case. I need to change my colors back and try to get them as gold as possible with the lighting, and then that'll probably actually be pretty good looking. But I had wanted to do, like I say, MSI, I forget the name of the case, but they make a gold and black themed case. It's got like their dragon emblem on the front. I figured that with that motherboard and a Titan someday, which I finally have now, would have been a really cool combination, but that's alright. We can't always have everything that we want. The case is still pretty cool, and the case will do, various lighting as well, as you can see. So if I have it running gold, it should look pretty good. It's just that it had actual like gold paint inlaid into it, which looked pretty good. But it's booted up here. Let's come over here. I gotta turn my little camera thing so you guys can see it. I can't really do desktop capture very well on this PC because it's, or at least not right now, because this ultra wide resolution, it's sort of not real conducive to that. So it's running in the low 40s idle right now, and the fan's at 83%. It's, I mean, I can hear it, but it's not very loud. That case is reasonably good at keeping the noise from getting too high. But I'll turn it up a little bit. Let's just see if we can hear it at 100%. You can probably hear that picking up a little bit more. Still not that bad for 100%, but I'm betting it'll get relatively warm when I start doing deep learning or when I start trying to game any games on it. But let me load up GPU-Z. So again, sorry about like we're not doing desktop capture. Honestly, I don't know. I put a lot of effort into that kind of stuff sometimes, and it doesn't seem like anybody really cares. So whatever, we'll just enjoy things how they are. So we've got our Nvidia Titan RTX, 12 nanometers, Turing architecture, 4608 CUDA cores, which is a baller number of CUDA cores. Look at that memory. I got crazy shit. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see. 24,576 megabytes of GDDR6. So yeah, it picked up and uses my driver just fine. Sensors. Yeah, read the same temps as I'm getting out of myself. Sorry about this freaking, like it's trying to do the auto-focusing thing and it can't read that very well for whatever reason. So it's kind of flopping around. But I guess I could show you guys real quick sort of some of the deep learning stuff I'm doing. So I'll pull that up here in just a sec. Alright, so basically the way that this program works, I wish it would stop doing the frickin' autofocus bullshit. It's just like it's kind of flopping around. But you can see I've got a destination folder and a source folder. I've got a destination video and a source video. And pretty much, like if you watch my last video, you can see in here I still got, you know, like my Greedo video where it's like Arnold's killing Greedo from Star Wars. My next one I'm going to be doing is Star Trek Next Generation, where I'm going to make Captain Picard into Arnold, where there's a scene where he's from an episode called The Drumhead, where he's kind of chewing out Worf because they're not really giving people their due process rights in these trials, and it's turning into kind of a witch hunt. And so anyways, what you do is you get, so we've got our destination video, or yeah, destination video is going to be, you know, whoever you're changing. And hold on, I got to get this program shut off there. Okay, but you can see, you know, Picard's here and he's talking to Worf, and I got this off YouTube easily enough. I found, you know, you can find footage from that, or in my, like I have Amazon Prime, I could just use Shadowplay to pull you know, footage off of anything off of there pretty easily, and just do like desktop capture, and then I can use it for these kind of things. But you take, you know, your destination clip, your source clip can be anything that you want in terms of you know, as long as it's the person that you want to get footage of. So I took no, sorry, that's good. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was very young, and he was being interviewed on the Johnny Carson show. And so I've got that in there, and then I've added some other footage manually where I found pictures of him online where it's like he's Conan the Barbarian, or he's just young and he was being like doing his bodybuilding kind of stuff back in the day. That's pretty much what all these are, is stuff like that. And I have some other ones in here that I pulled from let's see if I can show you what I'm talking about here. I'll zoom down. Oh, I guess somewhere at the top, whatever. You have the idea, like this is like Terminator 2, Total Recall, something like that. But the idea is to get as many pictures of him as you can, looking in different directions, eyes open, eyes closed, mouth open, mouth closed, where he's talking, and it can learn how that person talks. You know, you need side angles like this. You know, I've got all this footage I took from that. Basically, this is a batch file that you run in here, and it just takes everybody out of that, or takes all the images from. It's like a GIF splitter, basically. So it's like if you took a video and you made a GIF image out of it, and then you wanted to split that down into frames. That's all it does, is it splits the video into individual frames. And then there's a second batch file where it's like so face set extract, and it'll pull all the faces out of that, and it tries to align them properly so you have, you know, a pretty uniform set of faces that were extracted from those original images. So you get a set of, you know, extracted faces from the source, you get a set of extracted faces for the destination, and then you run all these different batch files, which, again, I'll go into more detail on this in a later video when I probably get really good at this and I wanted to do like a demo on it. But the idea is you train a mask, you know, this is supposed to be like the overlay that's going to put the one person's face on the other guy's face, and then you let this one batch file run where it trains basically all the sources and all the destination faces, and tries to learn each one and what the one should look like if it were overlaid on the other. And once you're done training all that, there's a merger program that just says excuse me, merge SAEHD. It's down here, I'll pull it up a little bit, but yeah, right there, and it brings up like this graphical user interface that you can pretty much just use keyboard commands to tell it, you know, to like sharpen it, or you know, do different types of things. Like you can do, they have like an overlay mode, they have like seamless mode, just different ways that the mask can be applied, and you just got to kind of tweak it and fiddle around with it, and you pretty much do it frame by frame through the whole video. So if your video is quite long, it can take a long time to do that, but you know, you kind of have to go through each one, and you can manually apply like that setting, like whatever your last settings were, you can apply that to the rest of the video if you want, and then continue on until it looks like, you know, like maybe you get to the next section of the video where the guy's further away, or he's up closer, or he's got a different, like his head's turned to an angle, or the lighting's different, and like your previous settings don't look good anymore. At that point of the video, you start changing them and tweaking them again, and then apply that to the rest of the video, and you keep doing that until you get to the end and finish it out. Once it's finished, you can then tell it to you merge that output to an MPEG-4 file, which it just does. Here, I'll bring this up a little bit. Merge to MPEG-4. It does a little batch file again. It spits out the MP4, and you get your final video, which shows up in your workspace folder under as a result, which is right here, which we did before again for Greedo. And then, like if I want to screw with it further, I can throw that into Premiere Pro and put like a title page on it and put an ending page on it, or cut out parts that didn't come out so good. And like if I wasn't able to figure out why they were having a problem, or it just didn't seem like it was ever going to work all that well, I can do, you know, little edits to it with Premiere Pro before I finally upload it. So that's kind of what I've been doing with you know, the deep learning thing. But now I guess what I want to do is try giving this Titan a shot at doing one of these programs here. So pretty much I was at the stage where I had trained the mask as far as I wanted, and I had actually started doing the training of the HD mode, and I guess we can see where we can go with it from here. So give me a second and we'll fire that up. Alright, so these are all different models that I've done in the past, but the current one I'm doing, it's Star Trek and Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I call it Starnold, which I thought was funny. So I'm going to tell it I want to work on my Starnold, and I want to use my Titan RTX for my GPU, so it's going to cache that kernel. Once it caches it, like, you're good after that. So like, you won't have to tell it to do it the next time if you want to come back in and change your settings. So I'm going to have it auto backup periodically, so like, you know, that way if your computer reboots or something like that. Like I had that happen for a while, where I was having a problem where my PC was rebooting if I had the settings too high, and like I was running out of memory or hitting some kind of an error, and it turned out I had to reseat some of my RAM, and it was better after that. But anyways, like you know, it's good if it auto saves. Preview history, I don't really think there's any useful thing there. So you set the number of iterations that you want it to run. I'll just start with the default of 65,000, but that last one I did with Greedo was like, ended up being like 126,000 iterations when I was done. And you can go, I mean, if you really want it to be really good, you know, you want it to go probably even quite a bit further than that. But it gets to a certain point where I kind of don't think it's going to improve that much, and then I usually just end up saying screw it. But if you really, really wanted like a high-end model, you know, you'd have to let it go on time. So we're going to tell it to go ahead and do that. Flip faces randomly. So like, you can hit a little question mark if you don't know what this does. It says the predicted face will look more natural without it, but the source face set should cover all face directions that the destination face has. So like, basically, like if the face is facing to the left and you don't have one where he's facing to the right, it will just flip the face around and use that, you know, basically inverted face, but that doesn't really 100% look natural, and someone watching it might even be able to figure it out that, you know, like, hey, that looked the same, only it's like it's been mirrored or flipped around. People's faces aren't necessarily 100% symmetrical, so that can kind of be one of those things, but it does help if you don't have a perfect set of faces to work with. I only had the batch, so I set at 4 before, because I was using my 2060 while I was waiting for this card to come in, but now I'm going to try, I'm going to set it up to like 24, and just, well, hell, let's go for the gusto. Let's hit it for like 30. I never had it that high before. Mass training means it's using a segmented mask. I have been making one of those. I'll explain that in another video. Yes, I want to give, if you don't give the eyes priority, they end up looking weird. So I'll do that. Uniform, I'm not going to explain all these settings. Basically, it's something I'll go through in a bit more detail at a later time. So let's see. Through all these little settings. And I had it on a pre-training mode before, which basically uses a bunch of celebrity faces that it goes through, and it kind of gets a generalized idea of what human faces do before you actually start specifically training your model. So I ran that for about 10,000 iterations, and now I'm going to go ahead. That actually runs pretty fast. Like, you'll get through 10,000 pretty quickly on that. But let's see what happens here. If we give it too high a setting with that 30 batch file, it's gonna tell me out of memory error. But I hope that I can do that with a frickin' 24 gigs of video memory. So let's let this get through this. One sec. Well, amazingly, it's still giving me an out of wow, that's surprising. I still get the out of memory. I did set this one to pretty high resolution, as I mentioned, I think, earlier. But I'm surprised that that isn't enough to run at that big of a batch file. I'll restart it here, and I'll see if I can find a setting that works. We'll set it to like 24 or something, so just give me a second. Okay, so it worked at 24. I could fiddle around with it, and maybe 26 would work or something like that. But anyways, these are much higher resolution than I had previously done. Like I said, I think before the highest one I had done was like 180, and usually I was doing like 120-ish. This one says 288, which still isn't very high. But again, I could go much higher with the resolution and lower that batch file size down to like 10 or something, and then go up to like, you know, like 400 or something like that in the resolution. I don't know. But I think there's probably still a limitation unless you get really crazy with the hardware. Like I think the best card for this right now for deep learning, at least for this kind of deep learning, is you know, the RTX Quadro 8000, which has 48 gigs of GDDR6. I don't know all the specs, not like how many tensor cores it has or anything like that, but just for the amount of memory it has the most of any card. And then also there's a Tesla V100 or V1000 that has I think it's 30 gigs of HBM2 memory, but those are like 8 grand. The Quadro, you know, 8000 RTX 8000 is like 5,500 bucks. I got this card for like 2,300, which is a lot. But this one thing I want this card is nice for. It's not only is it good for this deep learning, but it's also good for gaming. Whereas like it, you know, has RT cores and it's still a gaming card. It's still basically like an amped up 2080 Ti. Almost, maybe you want to call it a 2090 or whatever. But it's an amped up 2080 Ti that can also do deep learning really well. Whereas the 2080 Ti is a good gaming card, but doesn't do this super great. And then like a lot of the Quadro cards and so forth, they can game okay, but they're better for this sort of thing and not so much in the gaming. And then some of the cards I looked at, like I looked briefly at a Tesla, or not Tesla, sorry, a Titan V, which is a Titan Volta. Volta is the previous generation of chips, but it's like, it's useless for gaming, or like a lot less useful because it doesn't even have any RT cores. It has more tensor cores than this card though. And then also it doesn't have that much physical memory. It has only 12 gigs, but it's HBM2 again. So being much faster memory, you'd play around with it. You know, I'm from what I read, actually, like the benchmarks for deep learning on that card are faster slightly. I think it was like 4% higher and or lower depending on the test that they ran. But the Titan Volta is actually, you know, in some tests at least, faster than the Titan RTX for deep learning. But again, it's like the higher resolution you go, even though the memory on it's faster than GDDR6, you'd run out of the memory faster, I'm sure, at only 12 gigs. And so it still wouldn't be that great for doing these high res ones that I want to do. But what you can see here, I got like a little window up here. If I hit P, it'll advance it to like the next iteration that it's currently done. So it's done 73 of them while I've been talking. And you can just keep hitting it if you want. You don't have to do it. Like, it'll periodically update it otherwise. But you can see on the right, like, this is the predictive face. I can switch it to Picard, where you can see that it's kind of morphing him. And this is kind of like the overlaid start of Arnold over Picard. And I mean, of course, it's all very rough right now because we're barely into it at all. Like I said, that last one I did had like 127,000 iterations. We're at 75. So, you know, whatever, it's going to be a while. Temperature on our card, 73 degrees. That's not bad, especially considering the season. Like, it's like been 90 plus degrees outside for a while now. It's actually pretty freaking warm out there again right now. And I'm on my second floor of my condo. It's kind of warm in here. So, you know, actually that's doing pretty well considering this usually pegs the GPU at pretty close to 100%, you know, the whole time. So that's actually not bad. Let me just see here. It's definitely, some of these are not going to be so hot until it has a long time to figure out what it's looking at. But you have to go through and like manually trace out these faces on a button. Like I did like 300 some of them manually with a little, you know, just go around with the mouse and trace out the face that you want it to look like, because you have to kind of tell it specifically what to look at, especially in some of these blurry ones like this. Like otherwise it just kind of guesses. So anyways, I hope this information has been useful to you guys. This is kind of what I've been into lately, is the whole deep learning thing. I don't even game that much anymore. I still do game sometimes. Like I played that Control game for a while, which was kind of fun. And now that I've got the RTX Titan, I definitely want to screw around with some of that. I want to play around with that Minecraft with you know, all the ray tracing mod and like the super high res texture mods, because now I've got 24 gigs of video memory. I'm guessing that those will run pretty well now. Those games that were super memory hogs, video memory, and like I'm up to 64 gigs of DDR4 Corsair Dominator Platinum also on my system, because this shit I'm doing here, this deep learning, not only does it want a lot of video memory, but it just wants a lot of memory in general. So it's a hog on the system resources. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you had a little fun, learned a little bit about what I've been doing lately, learned a little bit about the Titan RTX, learned a little bit about deep fakes and deep learning. And if you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section below. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I know it's a bit of a ramble video, but I haven't done one for a while where I just talk and just take some hardware out of the box and play around with it. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys again here pretty soon. I've got that all-in-one, there's an all-in-one water cooler that I have coming in the mail that we're going to see if it'll work on my old 2080 Ti. And I'm probably going to sell that card here pretty soon to help cover the cost of this thing, because like I said, this thing was quite expensive. And then I might be looking at getting, I don't know, I've been looking at like Acer, and I think Asus actually only is the one that has, they're like 43-inch 4K 144 hertz, you know, HDR 1000 QLED displays, you know, like all the bells and whistles, but they're like $2 grand. So, you know, if I could sell off my 2080 Ti and then like one other thing or something, I could go snap one of those up and we could try it. For gaming, I might like it better than my ultra wide, I don't know. But anyways, again, appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you guys again real soon. Take care.